Wait, that has to have something to... This is a massive nerf. It does 10 times less. Okay, tier set changes. Let's take a look. Frost Decay, the 2 set piece has been changed. Now reads Howling Blast damage increased by 10%. Consuming Rime increases the damage of your next Frostworm's Fury by 5%, stacking 10 times. Pillar of Frost calls a Frostworm Fury at 40% effectiveness that cannot freeze enemies. Ooh, this is interesting. So before, Frostweaver was also increased in damage, and Rime would reduce the cooldown of Frostworm's Fury. Now it buffs it. I would argue I would like to shoot out Frostworm's Furies all the time, but shooting a bigger Frostworm's Fury is probably satisfying in its own right. Now, Pillar of Frost calls a Frostworm's Fury at 40% effectiveness. Is this going to consume the buffs of what Frostworm's Fury is getting in terms of consuming Rime? I think that would be interesting to see. I'm not sure exactly how it's supposed to function, because then the buff, because you would launch a bunch of Pillar of Frost. Actually, to be fair, you might have more than 10 Rimes in between each pillar, right? So it's probably good that it does, because within 3 minutes, because that's usually the cooldown of Frostworm's Fury, right? You would probably overcap this. So actually, probably it should consume the stacks. And then, you know, if you really want, if your Frostworm's Fury is coming off cooldown, maybe you delay the pillar, or maybe you only cast when you have 10 stacks. But sounds pretty good. Okay, definitely interesting. Definitely adds a little bit of depth to the playstyle there. Before it says, after consuming Rime 15 times, you call down a Frostworm's Fury on your target at 100% effectiveness. Now, Frostworm's Fury causes enemies hit to take 25% increased damage from your critical strikes for 12 seconds. This means obliterate, baby. Obliteration. Say goodbye to Breath of Sindragosa. Well, maybe not. But it definitely favors guaranteed critical strikes for those 12 seconds. And the most guaranteed critical strikes you're going to get is most likely from Obliteration, because it gives you guaranteed killing machines, right? I kind of dig it. It was pretty passive before. Now it's a little bit more active. We will see visually fewer Frostworm's Fury. However, they will seem to be more impactful, which is cool. If the playstyle is, because I'm kind of memeing a little bit, but if the playstyle is pushed towards Obliteration, that would be interesting. The devs definitely pointed out that they want us to take specific talents with this tier set. They want us to be really focused and zeroed in on certain talents, which I guess it's fine, because in the first season they didn't want that. They wanted us to explore the talents, and if the tier sets kind of force you into a specific build, that's not too bad. I mean, we actually said this was good back when we were arguing for tier sets to come back. The thing with the talent system is that the talents are so fun that you naturally kind of want to play a bunch of stuff. And I would more, if I'd have to choose, because obviously we're always going to be picky, we're always having something to complain about, but if I would have to choose, I would rather them force me into a talent that's a little bit early on into the tree, so that I can still choose my capstone. Although that's not going to be the same for everybody, right? Because usually capstones are more build defining than anything else for most specs, although not really. But yeah, let's see what else. Unholy. The prior tier set said Death Coil and Epidemic damage increased by 10%. Casting Death Coil or Epidemic grants a stack of Master of Death. At 20 stacks, Master of Death is consumed and you gain 15% mastery for 20 seconds. Okay, we talked about, you know, gaming that. Now, casting Death Coil or Epidemic grants a stacks of Master of Death up to 20 stacks. Dark Transformation consumes Master of Death and grants 1% mastery for each stack, meaning that's going to be 20% mastery for 20 seconds. Now, raw amount of mastery is just higher. I think this is actually a big increase. Overall, I don't know if the damage is better or not, because we don't know how many procs you would have in the old version with the new version. However, when the new procs, the new 2 set is going to give you the mastery when you have Dark Transformation, which is arguably when you want the procs anyway, because that's when you do big damn. So props, I think this is actually good design wise. Numbers wise, I guess, you know, it's always down to tuning, so we'll see. 4 set, Army of the Dead grants 20 stacks of Master of Death instantly. All right, when Death Coil or Epidemic consumes Sudden Doom, gain 2 extra stacks of Master of Death and 10% mastery for 6 seconds. So the mastery is good, the Army of the Dead is good, but the fact that when consuming Sudden Doom you gain an extra proc Now the question is, in between each dark transformation, would you naturally have about 20 stacks anyway? I kind of believe you might, right? Unless we're factoring some cooldown reduction here. Because this is only valuable if you would get your dark transformation before you would naturally reach 20 stacks, right? But if you naturally reach 20 stacks before you get dark transformation, then all of these will be wasted because you cannot consume them unless you pop dark transformation. This is a nice quality of life change, meaning that on pull you'll have big army and you'll have the big dark trans with a 20% mastery. It's a very good change. Okay, then I functionally I like how this is. Way more interesting than before. Interactions with Army of the Dead, yes please. Man, this is actually looking pretty sweet for Unholy. Kinda jelly. Demon Hunter, Havoc. After we've seen the I-beam nerfs, by the way, every 175 fury spent, gain seething fury, increasing your agility by 1%. Okay, so they've lowered the amount of fury necessary to proc it, which it's obviously a buff. Each time you gain seething fury, gain 15 fury, and the damage of your next I-beam is increased by 15%. Now we see why the I-beam has been nerfed, because it is buffed even more by the tier set. So maybe baseline the class was doing way too much damage with the I-beam, and they didn't want the overall damage to be nerfed. So instead they took some damage from the baseline kit and put it into the tier set, so that when the tier set goes away, you're still not doing more than what they would consider to be meta. Okay. This is all just numbers once again, so until we get to see this on the meters, it doesn't really mean much, but functionally, I guess that's great. Balanced Druid, oh boy. Sunfire radius increased by 3 yards. Sunfire, Moonfire, and Shooting Stars damage increased by 20%. So a buff, okay. Buff to Shooting Stars by 2%. Would explain some of the nerfs. Druid balance, okay, 4 set. Shooting Stars has a 20% chance to instead call down a crashing star, dealing slightly more spell power in damage and generating 5 astral power. So a buff. Basically, balance just got a buff to the tier set and they're nerfing the baseline. So possibly it's the opposite. No, it's actually, no, it's not the opposite. It's the exact same thing as HAVOC. They're taking away some of the power from the class and putting it into the tier set. So I'm guessing, you know, it kind of evens out at the end. Guardian Druid. Oh boy. When you take damage, Mangle and Thrice damage and regeneration are increased by... wasn't it 15%? So it's functionally no change whatsoever. Well, they didn't change how it actually functions, and Guardian tier set is particularly strong. It's basically opposite of Balance and HAVOC, where the baseline spec is undertuned, but the tier set seems to be overtuned, and the tier set might, you know, put it back on the map, which is a concept that we've had before, and I don't think anybody's a fan of having their spec fixed by a borrowed power that's gonna go away. Maybe by the time the tier set goes away, we will have Bear functionally the same as everybody else. I would much rather prefer the tier set to be nerfed than the spec to be underperforming. Okay, Resto Druid. Rejuvenation, Life, Bloom, Healing increased by... okay, nerfed, because Resto Druid was pretty nutty. So the healing is nerfed from 15 to 20%. Regrowth healing over time increased by 50% instead of 75. So big nerfs. The 4 set. Okay, there we go. Oh, Flourish increased the rate of your heal over time effects by 40% instead of... by 30% instead of the 40%. Also big nerf for additionally 16 seconds after it ends, which was very big. This is a big tier set, and the fact that it's nerfed makes a lot of sense. Preservation. My main. Spirit Bloom applies heal over time effect for 40% of the healing done over 8 seconds until cancelled. I think this is just a tooltip change. I don't think this alters what it does at all. Alright. 4 set. After casting 3 empowered spells, gain Essence Burst immediately and another 3 seconds later. So this is a buff. There are some mechanical interactions with Essence Burst where you want to use Essence Burst after certain things. For instance, with the Ouroboros changes, right? With the Ouroboros changes, you would want to use Essence Burst on your Emerald Blossoms every 5 Ouroboros stacks, ideally, right? And that takes a while to build up. Now, what this means, at least just for Ouroboros, this is not an easy 4 set to theory craft. But that means you will definitely not use the second Essence Burst for Ouroboros, but it might make it easier to cast your Empowered spells, your Echoes, or your Emerald Blossoms. This kind of sounds like it will promote Emerald Blossom more, because that's mainly what you want to use Essence Burst on. That's the most expensive spell that could benefit from Essence Burst. Unless you're doing damage, which is like whatever. Or unless they want to promote Echo Spamming or Echo Spread, which I don't think that, because that's what we're doing now. I don't think they want us to play similar to what we're playing now. Mage, Arcane. Arcane. Every 20,000 mana spent has been nerfed to 24,000 mana spent during Arcane Surge. Spell damage is increased by 1% for 12 seconds. After Arcane Surge fades, stacking up to 25 times, so this was buffed. Your mana regeneration is increased by 50% for this time. This was buffed. After Arcane Surge fades... okay, so wait a minute. For every 24,000 mana spent during Arcane Surge, your spell damage is increased by 1% for 12 seconds after Arcane Surge fades, stacking up to 25 times. So it stacks up easier. Well, I mean, is it actually a change? Because it costs more mana, but it stacks quicker. So maybe it's just so that there's fewer procs. And during Arcane Surge, your mana regeneration is increased by 50%. That's definitely a buff to the 4 set. So you can consume more mana quicker. Oh no, it is a nerf. Wait a minute. It stacks quicker, but you have fewer stacks overall. So this is a nerf in overall damage, right? Your spell damage is gonna only be increased by 25% instead of 30%. And the rest is just an issue of how the mana economy is gonna be. Although you can argue that the mana regeneration being higher, you get to do more damage during the 12 seconds after Arcane Surge. Wait, is that really when you want the mana regen? Maybe it's not that great. If you had... Wait, if the mana regen is within Arcane Surge, that could be good. Really good, maybe. But if it's outside Arcane Surge... I'm not 100% familiar with how Arcane does its burst windows, but after Arcane Surge, when you would naturally be out of mana, wouldn't you use Evocation there? Maybe not always, but wouldn't that make the mana regen pointless if that's how you play? But if it's not how you play, maybe that's good. Okay, then I guess I'm not impressed. I need to play more Arcane to understand how good or bad this set is. But if it's not WoW, then I guess... Fire. Phoenix Flames applies Charring Embers to all enemies it damages, increasing their damage taken from you by 6% for 12 seconds. Okay, so a slight buff for 12 more seconds for them to take 6% more damage. Oh, okay. I mean, it's fine. It's maybe tuning. It doesn't... I don't think it changes anything, right? Brewmaster. The 4 set. Rising Sun Kick grants a stack of Elusive Brawler, and when you dodge, the damage and critical strike chance of your next Spinning Crane Kick or Rising Sun Kick is increased by 5%, stacking up to 5 times. Okay, so they've changed it from Blackout Kick to be buffed to Spinning Crane Kick to be buffed, which is great because it makes more sense, right? You do more AoE. But this is just damage, right? I mean, Rising Sun Kick giving you a stack of Elusive Brawler is really good, but other than that, it's just pure damage output. I don't think Brewmaster has any issues with damage now, and I don't imagine... I mean, the damage is always good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know... Is that what Brewmasters need? Wouldn't Brewmasters love a little bit more tankiness, I'm imagining? Anyway. Mistweaver. Renewing Mist has a chance to grant Soul Fang Infusion, granting 3% of your maximum mana over 3 seconds. So... nerf? No, buff. This is buffed, right? Overall. Well... You get less mana, but you get it way faster. But it also depends on the proc chance. It has a chance. It doesn't say how is the proc chance. Over the course of a fight, this is a nerf because you're just generating less mana, but you are getting it faster. Maybe this doesn't change anything if the procs would overlap and you would end up wasting some of this mana regen. So this depends heavily on the proc rate. If the proc rate was too high and you ended up overlapping the procs and wasting some of it, then this change is good and probably functionally even giving you more mana. But otherwise, I guess we'll have to see because it kind of matters. The proc matters. I think this was it. That would make sense. I mean, it's not like Mistweaver was knocking meters out of the park. Now, there's a 4-set addition here, and I don't know what this does. Drinking tea or gaining soul infusion increases the healing of your Vivify and renewing mist by 40% for 6 seconds. Name changed. Oh, it's just a name change? Okay, so nothing really changed. Okay, Windwalker. Rising Sun Kick deals 12% increased damage and goes Nova. Because what else could the Windwalker do except going Nova? Dealing 80% attack power of Shadow Flame damage to all enemies within 8, I imagine 8 yards. So it's a little bit of a nerf. Wait. So Rising Sun Kick, it used to do 15% increased damage and has a chance to go Nova, dealing 300%. Okay, this was a chance to go Nova. This is guaranteed to go Nova for less damage. None of these numbers mean anything if you don't know the proc rate. If overall the proc rate was so low that you end up doing more overall damage, then obviously this is a buff, otherwise it's a nerf. But since we don't know the proc, there's no way to figure out exactly how this is. However, being guaranteed definitely makes it more appealing, because you know, when you press Rising Sun Kick, you go Nova, because that, you know, it's Windwalker stuff. Spirit of Forged Vermilion. I guess this is also name changed. Yes, name change, okay. Protection Paladin. Force it. Judgment critical strikes apply Hardfire and can trigger Grand Crusader. Okay, the main issue with this is that can trigger was such a low proc chance that it didn't really matter. And it's still a proc chance. I think this is the only main issue that people had with the Protection Paladin 4 set, which I think I've misjudged. I didn't really think it was particularly good, and I might have been wrong. However, this still seems to be the only issue that it actually had. It's still an issue. I mean, it applies Hardfire, which I think it's the 2-piece. Maybe that's good. It's definitely a buff, but doesn't seem to be the buff that people wanted. Okay, Red. Light's Dominion. Judgment and Hammer of Wrath deal 10% increased damage and 20% increased critical strike damage. Hammer of Wrath applies Judgment to enemies. So this wasn't it? Why do I remember that this was it? Name change from Paladin Retribution to the Dominion. Hardfire Sentinels. Okay, so this was what it used to do, right? Why does it sound like this was added afterwards? Well, anyway, it's good. Judgment increases the damage enemies take from your Holy Power spenders by an additional 5%. Good. Hammer of Wrath. Okay, no, so this, yeah, so I remember correctly. This was moved from the, what I would imagine to be the 4 set to the 2 set. And now Hammer of Wrath now hits 4 nearby targets for 20% of its damage. Yo, this is good though, because not only Hammer of Wrath, you know, does damage, whatever, it's 20%, it's less, but it also applies the Judgment effect to 5 total targets. So once again, Red is going to be the 5 target cleave bonanza big boy. Nice. Okay, this is actually nice. I feel like this is a massive buff though. Hey, more power to Red, that's all I'm saying. Discipline Priest, big change. Purge the Wicked, Shadow of Pain damage increased by 25%. Power Shield absorbs 30% more damage. Okay, I kind of like this a little bit. Just more raw power to Discipline. I think it feels like they should have this baseline, but okay. And the 4 set, every 3 casts of Power Shield cause your next atonement granted by Power Shield to last an additional 15 seconds and heal 20% more. This is definitely tank healing. These also feel like fixes to this, how the spec should work though. Are these just band-aid fixes? Heal for 20% more on only 1 target definitely feels like spot healing or target healing buffs. But it's such a targeted change that it feels like it's trying to fix a problem that Discipline has. Am I wrong? And it's also every 3 casts of Powered Shield. Outside of Rapture, this will take a while, right? So you have to build towards it. I guess the plus side is that you can probably hold on to the buff. I would assume that once you get the buff that makes your next Power Shield be big boy Power Shield, you don't have to spend it right away, right? You can, oh my god, the tank is gonna get slapped in a second, boom, Power Shield. Or, you know, somebody soaking a mechanic, boom, Power Shield. Okay. At least it's a little bit more interesting. It all comes down to how powerful it is. Which sounds like it's good, but I don't see that many Discipline Priests to kind of figure this out. Shadow. Increase the... Oh my god, Shadow. Oof! 2 set. Increase the chance for Shadowy Insight to trigger by 25%. Shadowy Insight is what gives you the free Mind Blast, right? When consuming Shadowy Insight, Mind Blast deals... Oh, big nerf. Well, nerf in the sense that it doesn't do more instant damage, but it procs more often. I don't know if overall this is a buff or not. It's more single target, so I guess that's fine. More procs is probably always better, I feel. Especially for this, you probably want more Mind Blast, because this also, it will involuntarily increase your insanity generation, because you have more Mind Blast charges regardless of the damage. It's a good change, but it's only 3% damage. Oh, really? Jesus, that's it? That's all it is? Okay. Well, 4 set. Change. Devouring Plague damage increased by 15%. Every 4 casts of Devouring Plague increases the damage of shadowy apparitions conjured within the next 10 seconds. Wait a minute. Wait, this is a big change. Wait, I don't know damage-wise, but they've completely changed how the 4 set works. Devouring Plague. Every 4th Devouring Plague increases the damage of shadowy apparitions conjured within the next 10 seconds by 80%. Oh... Dude, I have been overreacting so much on a lot of the stuff that I don't know how to take this in. I love this functionally because it doesn't lock you into Shadow Fiend, Mindbender, Yashiraj anymore. I don't know if it locks you into which one gives you Shadow Apparition stuff. Oh my god, did they actually listen to the feedback? Oh, this is so good. Like, rework aside, this is so cool. Oh, they took away the mandatory Yogg Saron. God bless you, devs. Bless you for listening to the players and giving us the spec that we would love to play. I don't know how much better it is, but it's definitely... Since they move a lot of talents around, Yogg Saron is a pretty central node, right? And this is what spawns Thing from Beyond, right? Yogg is mid, right? Yeah, Yashiraj. Yashiraj was what we were locked in. The Shadow Flame Prism mechanic, the Inescapable Torment. I remember Inescapable because you couldn't escape from it. Oh, you said Yogg? Okay, I messed it up. But anyway, yay! Alright, Rogue, Assassination. Rupture deals an additional 40% damage as nature. Crimson Tempest deals an additional 20% damage as nature. What? Okay, they want Rupture to deal more and Crimson Tempest to deal less, but overall is the same. Which, maybe that's good in the sense that if they buff Crimson Tempest too much, it becomes mandatory in single target, so maybe they're targeting that. This is just a shift in power, which I guess it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't want to be forced into an AoE talent to do more single target damage. That sounds a little bit silly. So, if that's why they're doing this, then okay, that's good. I don't know if it's enough, but it's good, I guess. Restoration Shaman. When you cast Healing Rain, each ally with your Riptide on them in the area is healed for way more spell power. Yo, 35% increase? Dope. Force it. Each ally healed by Tide Waters increases your healing done, not haste. Oh my god, I love this so much more. I dislike haste on healers. Haste is such a counterintuitive way to heal because it just burns through your mana so much quicker when we can just have individual heals be more impactful, which I totally appreciate more. Increases your healing by 1%. Also, arguably, healing done by 1% might be better than haste by 1%, right? For 6 seconds, it increases the healing of your next healing wave, not Riptide, or healing surge by 10%, or your next chain heal by 2%. On one hand, Riptide is on a charge-based system that has a cooldown. On the other hand, Healing Wave and Healing Surge are castable spells, which I guess that's good. Am I trying to find fault in this? This seems like a lot more healing, though. Well, Riptide's healing by 10% is also very efficient healing, right? But Riptide overall probably... is Riptide on a cast-by-cast basis doing more healing? We can quickly find this out. Riptide baseline heals for 170... heals for a total of 302 spell power. Healing Wave heals for more. Okay. Healing Surge. I'm mostly looking at the overall scaling. Also heals for more. So this is a healing buff. Chain Heal probably doesn't though. 200 and then jumps 5 targets and heal 3 more Stinger allies. Healing is reduced by 30%. So the second one would be almost 70%, 75%, maybe 80%, close to 80% extra spell power. So that's already more than Riptide. And the third target will also add, and if it still jumps to a fourth target, okay, this is definitely a buff in overall throughput. Wait, is this bad? This sounds like throughput buffs. You think you would have to play without the tier set? It's better, but not good. Okay, well, I guess that's just a matter of tuning then. It's useless in M+. How is it useless? Oh, because you use Healing Rain offensively? Is that why it's useless? Wouldn't you be able to use Healing Rain on both party members and... I'm guessing, yeah, right? You don't Riptide everyone? But you will, won't you? Is it not valuable to Riptide everyone? Well, I guess. Okay, well... Destruction, 2 sets. Channel Demon Fire Bolt, Simulate, Incinerate. Have a chance they've removed the 20%. And now we don't know what the chance is? To fire an additional Demon Fire Bolt. Okay, so we don't... I don't know. I'm guessing it's similar. I don't know what that is. 4 sets. Demon Fire Bolts increase the fire damage you deal by 1% for 13 seconds for each bolt cast, stacking up to 8 times. Gaining a stack does not refresh the duration. And before it was after casting 15 Demon Fire Bolts, your next Demon Fire Bolt deals more Shadow Flame damage to the target and splashes enemies in 8 yards. And now Demon Fire Bolts increase the overall fire damage. Okay, this is a good change, right? Because it increases your overall fire damage dealt, not just Channel Demon Fire damage. You deal by 1% for 13 seconds for each bolt cast. Oh, Jesus. But it's... Okay, so the way this works, Channel Demon Fire is how long? 3-second channel, okay. So realistically, you would have the 8% fire damage for 10 seconds and then it drops off, right? By 1% per second, right? Or however long... No, it drops off by more per second. And 3 seconds after those 10 seconds, you would lose all of it. But it's good because it definitely increases your overall fire damage. It's better, but, you know, it's still the issue of Channel Demon Fire. Casting Channel Demon Fire resets the duration. Didn't they say that it doesn't? Gaining a stack does not refresh the duration. 4 set only works for the proc Demon Fire according to Kalamazi. But it shouldn't, right? That's the old 4 set. Unless it's a bug. Because Demon Fire Bolt should increase your fire damage. That's all of your fire damage. That's Rain of Fire, that's Immolate, that's Chaos Bolt. It was added in later. Okay, so now it refreshes. So you have 13 seconds of 8% fire damage. Channel Demon Fire Bolt... Immolate and Incinerate have a chance. Oh, have a chance to fire an additional Demon Fire Bolt, and those bolts also give you fire damage. I see. Okay, I get it. But I mean, isn't this good still? But even that should increase your fire damage, not your Channel Demon Fire Bolts, right? So you fire a random bolt, right, from the procs, and if you have 4 set, that bolt will give you 1% fire damage for 13 seconds, right? It will drop off, and if you get one during those 13 seconds, it will drop off like Iron Fur, right? Too much RNG, but yeah, but that's distro. You don't like Channel Demon Fire? Fair. I like it. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to see it in practice. If it doesn't increase your overall fire damage and only Channel Demon Fire damage, I would imagine that's a bug that they would probably fix. Only the set bolts proc the 4 set, but casting... Wait. Okay, so the 4 set does not work off of the casted Demon Fire, just refresh it. I don't know about that though. Well, I guess we'll have to see it in practice. Yeah, then I'm not as big of a fan then. Deep Wounds increases your... For arms wear, Deep Wounds increases your chance to critically strike and critically strike damage dealt to affected targets by... What? Wait, that has to have something to... This is a massive nerf. It does 10 times less. Okay, Deep Wounds increase your chance to critically strike and increase the critical strike damage by 5% instead of 50%. Okay, now let's check the 4 set. Deep Wounds critical strikes have a chance to increase the damage of your next slam by 15%. This stacks up to 10 times and causes slam to damage up to 4 additional targets for 50% of its damage. This feels like a nerf. So initially it was Deep Wounds critical strikes have a chance to increase the damage of your next slam by 15%, stacking 10 times, and causes it to strike up to 10 additional targets for 50% damage. Okay, it's a wording change as well. So it doesn't strike 10 targets, it strikes only 4, and it also strikes it, and also the crits are smaller. I mean, it's still good, sure. All right. It's all numbers. I like the function of it though. Fury, rampage damage, and critical strike chance. This is a wording change as well. Yeah, this is wording change. Protection, wording change. Okay. Interesting changes. It sounds like some of these, definitely the Shadow Priest one, has been based on community feedback. I know the Fire Mages have a problem with the tier sets, and that doesn't seem to have been resolved. I know the bear tier set is very strong and that doesn't seem to have been resolved. The resto druid being nerfed, I feel like that's probably on point because it seemed like it was doing stupid numbers. Unholy decay, big nice changes. So overall it's looking pretty good, and this is like 2 weeks after we found out about the tier sets, so fingers crossed that a lot of them will get their light in the sun. Yes, more of this please, thank you. More changes, more awareness, more listening to feedback.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.